Well, ladies and gentlemen, what have we learned tonight? We have learned that Dr. Oz was the worst candidate, the worst Republican candidate in the history of the country. But I want to answer a question tonight. Why did we see candidates like Governor Stitt in Oklahoma, Governor DeSantis in Florida, the state superintendent Ryan Walters in Oklahoma win by such large margins, as I predicted, by the way? I told you over and over and over again that the polls in Oklahoma were complete crap. I told you. But why did we see candidates like that win? And candidates like the worst candidate in the history of the Republican Party, Dr. Oz, lose. The reason why is because the establishment Republican Party is completely out of touch with what works in this country. How Republicans and conservatives win. And let me just say this, because mea culpa time, right? I'm going to tell you when the Corey DeAngelises of the country and Chris Rufo and all of them, they had it spot on. They had it spot on with DeSantis' strategy, with Governor Stitt's strategy. But I'll tell you this, I deeply informed Governor Ryan Walters' strategy, and he ran on what was important to Americans and parents. They ran on the same thing that won Governor Youngkin his spot in Virginia. And candidates like Dr. Oz running on, he brought Susan Collins, ladies and gentlemen. He brought Susan Collins in to stump for him. Can you even imagine? That is why he lost. Because he ran as a milk toast nothing. He ran as a milk toast nothing. Arthur, I'm telling you how he won. This is how he lost, or how Fetterman won, is because Dr. Oz stood for nothing for no one. That's how you lose to a man who cannot speak a complete sentence, who clearly is suffering from a debilitating stroke. That's how you lose. You stand for nothing for no one. This is not 1996 anymore. This isn't 1985 anymore. You cannot run and not be fighting for somebody. Governor Stitt in Oklahoma, Ryan Walters, Governor DeSantis, they stood for the parents and the children of their states. Governor Glenn Youngkin stood for the parents and the children of his state. That is how you win elections in 2022 and moving forward. The red wave that was predicted tonight across the country did not materialize. And the only people to blame for that are the establishment Republican Party, who ran milquetoast candidates in milquetoast, in districts and races that they thought were safe, and Republicans barely lost the long shot races they were in because they ran quality candidates who actually stood for something. Zach, right now, Kari Lake is not winning in Arizona. There is 54% of the vote in, and Kari Lake is down by more than 10. I sincerely believe, and this is a political operative's thought process, that Arizona was lost because of the push there for school choice. Not because school choice is bad, but because it's not as popular as they would have you believe. Governor Stitt and Ryan Walters won in Oklahoma by fighting for parental rights. They never mentioned the word school choice. That's a fact. I'm not browbeating anything here. I'm mentioning a fact. Kari Lake can still pull this out, and I would be wrong about that. Because there's only 54% of the vote in. If Kari Lake wins in Arizona, I will flip that assessment based upon that happening, because she that is one of the biggest issues in Arizona right now. It was the school choice issue, and like it or not, people like their public schools. They may not like what's going on in them. That's the difference. Governor Stitt, Ryan Walters ran as the state superintendent of public instruction in Oklahoma on parental rights, giving them as many options as they could. He did mention that. But he ran against the woke. He ran to be unwokeable. He ran to make his schools unwokeable. How do I know? I've been yelling that at him for a couple of years now. I'm not saying I'm responsible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking credit for anything. I wasn't like in the middle of his campaign, but I have been giving him advice on what to say when it comes to the woke issue. And he even said that on my show the other day. I am not an operative in his campaign. Governor Stitt and Ryan Walters had good advice. Okay. I'm just saying what he ran on was freeing Oklahoma from wokeism and from the radical left's agenda. Dr. Oz, the worst candidate in the history of the Republican Party, ran for nothing and for no one but the establishment Republican Party, who picked him because he's a name, and he lost to a man who cannot formulate a complete sentence. He lost to a man that before this race would have never won if he would have ran against somebody like J.D. Vance, for example. Excuse me. Super chats are open, guys. I would appreciate that. But had a really good time tonight. Project 46. We did a in studio election night special. It was the first one we've done, and I think it went really, really well. Project 46, Red River TV. Those guys are great. I'm going to be working with them more. Go check that out on Facebook. We had some technical difficulties. The power literally went out in the middle of it. It was amazing. They just boom, dropped. But we'll be working with them. But I want to go through some of these races because the red wave did not materialize. And the only people you can lay that at the feet of, okay, The only people are the establishment Republican Party. We need to pick new coaches. We need to pick new coaches. We need the coaches that are running the DeSantis campaign. That is an absolute amazing win. And just point this out. I said to you just 2 days ago that Governor DeSantis was in absolutely no danger of losing that race, and nothing Donald Trump could have said about it or about him would have put him in danger. And his overwhelming, monstrous win in Florida proves that. It proves it beyond a shadow of a doubt. 20 points for Governor DeSantis. Oklahoma, 15 points. Now there's still 8% left, so that could close a little bit. But the last poll, until the Oklahoma pollster should be fired. And I was telling you over and over again, these numbers are false. Just barely 50% of the Oklahoma population voted, and Governor Stitt won by 15 points. Ryan Walters, as state superintendent, run by 14 to 15 points. Greg Abbott, run by 12 points. But it does not look good for Kari Lake in Arizona. It doesn't. She is behind by 10 points. And pardon me, and she's still 50, about 46% of the vote left, so it depends on what areas you're looking at. But it doesn't look good. But what did not materialize tonight is I don't believe, I mean, the Republicans are down one in the Senate. And that's because we ran someone like Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, which was a pick-upable seat. Beto is going to Louisiana, Zach? I don't know. Let's see what Zach says. So Zach says, I can't understand why people would want somebody like Fetterman as governor. Well, it's senator. Honestly reminds me of Biden. Yeah, no, it's a little crazy, but it shows you how horrible of a candidate Dr. Oz is or was. Why on earth? And this show, since Trump has got kicked off Twitter, he has been out of step with the way the country is going. And when he endorsed Dr. Oz for Pennsylvania, that's when I knew it. Because the other primary candidate was much better than him. And I think would have just whipped the pants off of John Fetterman. Now you're going to have Mr. Lurch McStutter representing Pennsylvania in the Senate. So we're sitting right now with 48 for Democrats, 47 for Republicans in the Senate. We're sitting at 196 in the Republicans for the House and 171 for the Democrats. And the governor's races, we've lost 2 governor's races. This was not the red wave. Thank the Lord it was the red wave in Oklahoma. But It was the red wave in Florida. But man, we won in Missouri. Schmidt won in Missouri. That's great. That's good. Um, but it looks like, I mean, Kansas could go either way. It's still within, but Oregon, obviously, that's a little closer than I expected it to be. Okay, that we could still do that one. Nevada doesn't look great, and Arizona doesn't look great. Now, just like I reported earlier, NPR said this, that 20% of the voting machines in Maricopa County are had some kind of mechanical issue. Now, I'm not saying that we're losing the election because of any type of nefarious deed. Okay, I'm just pointing that out. And the vote is coming in slow in all of the western states right now. So, one thing that we have to admit is that Governor DeSantis is the most popular Republican in the country right now. He is the most popular Republican per capita in the country that is holding public office right now. It's going to be very, very interesting what happens here in the next 2 years, because you could say that this midterm election is a referendum on Trump's handpicked nominees. That's something we should take into account, don't you think? Now, I've said this even when I was beaten up on DeSantis the other night for whining, or well, people whining for him, excuse me. I said that I'm partial to DeSantis. One thing I will say about this is I think we don't need any more boomer presidents if we can avoid it. As Kennedy would say, let's let the torch be passed. But I don't think that DeSantis can win the nomination against Trump. That's I think that is just like Megyn Kelly says. I think that it's going to be very, very difficult for that to happen. So I think the best case scenario that we have here is a Trump DeSantis ticket. Yeah, I would vote DeSantis more now too. I think this is an indication that Trump's candidates will have the same problem he maybe have had in 2020. But I don't think that Trump or that DeSantis can beat Trump in the primary. Because let's just take this cycle, for example, right? Trump's candidates all won the primaries, but they had problems. But here's the other thing, going back to my other point, Trump does not have his finger on the pulse of the electorate the way he did when he was on Twitter all the time. And Truth Social is nothing more than an echo chamber for him, literally built by him for him. If he wants to remain relevant and get his finger back on the pulse, right? Because here's what Trump did in the lead up to 2016. He was on Fox and Friends once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. He was on Twitter shaping the narrative as opposed to responding to it. That's what Twitter does now. Before 2016, the mainstream media set the narrative and Twitter kind of reacted. Trump, in the lead up into 2016, shifted that. And Twitter now sets the narrative. Well, DeSantis and DeSantis surrogates own Twitter. I think almost literally. And I don't know about it being a referendum on Trump because, again, I think there's nuance here. I think Trump made all of his nominees won, right? But Dr. Oz is the prime example that Trump did not know who he was endorsing. When and I can't remember her name, she was a great candidate. She was recently on Timcast. She was she was a really good an aftermate. She was a black lady, and she was really good. If Trump would have had his finger on the pulse of Twitter when all of that was going on, I sincerely believe he would not have endorsed Dr. Oz. So saying this is a referendum on, is it Kathy Barnett? Is that who it is? If so, I'm not sure you can call it a referendum on Trump because I think it's a referendum on Trump's candidates that he endorsed, but I don't think he would have endorsed them. And this is just speculation on my part, but I don't think he would have endorsed them if he would have known them and their public personas and the way that they operated and how the American public were responding to them. And he wasn't getting that because the people around him were letting him get that. Truth was not in full swing at that point, and even if it was, it's not Twitter. But make no mistake, 19.4% of Florida's electorate, that's how many more voted for Ron DeSantis in Florida. So Dr. Oz stood for nothing for no one. He was the worst candidate in the history of the Republican Party, and it's because he was nothing more than a celebrity who stood for nothing. And he had no message. He had no issue that set him apart. And he did not tap into what Governor Stitt, what Ron DeSantis, what they represented and fought for, what Glenn Youngkin fought for. They fought for kids. They fought for parents. And they fought against the radicalization of kids. I think that's why we're seeing close races in places like Oregon at the moment, which if you look here, Kotek, 46, Dranzen, 44. Nevada is not close at the moment, and Arizona is not close at the moment, but they haven't moved at all. They haven't moved at all. But this was the Republicans to lose, and people like Kevin McCarthy, people like Paul Ryan, who's running around behind the scenes, who did not allow their candidates, who were running House candidates that should have won. But the Democrats have picked up 2 in North Carolina and Ohio. And the Republicans so far have picked up 1, 2. They won New Jersey 7, Florida 13, but they lost 34 in Texas. They lost District 1 in Ohio. And Virginia District 2. The Republicans picked up. Kiggins won that one. Guys, it is not the red wave we were hoping for. Not even close. Now, still have a lot of close races here, obviously, but a lot of not. And the Senate, I the Senate doesn't look good at all, guys. Rubio won, kept it. But do you see anything here that says a Republican pickup? Here's the thing that's happening in Georgia. Georgia is the big race right now. If it doesn't go to 50%, if one of the candidates doesn't get 50%, it's Warnock 49.1, Walker 48.8. It will go to a runoff. And I'm not sure the runoff goes Walker's way. They are going to pound him to death. So it behoove it to me. I think at best right now, we hit a 50-50 Senate. At best. Yeah, it is damage control. Zach, it is damage control. That's funny. That's funny, TK. Zelda might have stood a chance if half of New Yorkers didn't move to Florida. Amen. Amen. That's very much true. But I'm going to talk about Oklahoma for a second. I was really disappointed to see that we lost the DA race in Oklahoma City, that my friend Kendra Wesson lost and the 3 Republicans lost in Norman. But I'm telling you, that is what defund the police was about, was moving every conservative out of the city and locking down a Democratic stronghold around the University of Oklahoma. You've heard me say it over and over again, to build a blue moat around the University of Oklahoma. That has been the goal. They held strong in Tulsa, they held strong in Oklahoma City, and they held strong in Norman. But man, the Oklahoma pollsters should all be fired, because they had Governor Stitt up by 3, and I told you, going back as far as a month ago or more, that Governor Stitt would win by at least 16. You go back and listen. I'll find the tweets and the Facebook posts. I told you that over and over again. But turnout in Oklahoma was down this election. Just so he didn't get we didn't get quite the numbers that happened in 2018. And so, but his margin of victory is commanding for both him and Ryan Walters. That gives them a mandate. I don't care what you say, gives them a mandate. Let's talk practical. I'm not going to mention I'm going to talk to you like a pundit. The school choice lobby sewed up the vote in Oklahoma, I believe, in the candidates that are coming into the House and Senate. And those that do not maybe support it are going to be cudgeled very hard. They're going to be cudgeled very hard. And that's all I'm going to say about it at this point. But like it or not, on that issue or any other, Governor Stitt has a mandate. He absolutely has a mandate. And I sincerely hope that in the next 4 years, he uses that to do the first thing. He needs to ban child transition surgeries and procedures in the state of Oklahoma. He can outdo DeSantis if he does that. He can lead on that issue. And he promised he would. Because he has a mandate. And he should use the bully pulpit of the governorship to lead. Lead on, Governor Stitt. Lead on. If you've got their back, I've got yours. That will be my mantra from now until the end of his term. If he has the back of Oklahoma children and their bodies first, before the school issue, you will earn political capital with people like me. If you protect the physical bodies of Oklahoma kids from evil, criminal doctors, you will earn a lot of political capital with the people that may agree with you on most issues, but have issues with some of the school choice agenda. Order of operations is important, Governor. Order of operations is important. Ban these procedures first thing out of the gate. Look at Greg Treat, look at Speaker McCall, and say, I have the mandate, gentlemen. I have the mandate. Protect Oklahoma kids. If he does that, he will earn a giant amount of political capital from those who might have an issue with some of his other agenda items. I sincerely hope he does that. To my friend Ryan Walters, congratulations. You earned that. You had the right message. You kept strong to it when you got beat up over and over and over again. I think worse than Governor Stitt. And you deserve that win. And I cannot wait to see what you do with the State Department of Education and anything from going in and cleaning the toilets all the way to anything else you want. I am at your service, sir. You earned it. You fought for Oklahoma kids, and I tip my hat to you. And Governor Stitt, of course. To my friends in the Norman area who lost, man, you were up against it. You were up against it. And I am just concerned, and I don't want to. I'm always for, and I'll make this a blanket statement. Let the candidates be who they are in races like that. Let it's an old West Wing thing from or even Clinton. It came from Clinton, but it was let Clinton let Bartlett be Bartlett, right? Let the candidate be who they are, and they will always do better. That's my opinion. Yes, Nevada will be counting votes for several days. No surprise. Blah bitty blah. See you, Zach. Thank you for checking in. So here's where I'm at, guys. We have to band together. We have to put the right issues up front. We have to stop nominating milquetoast pieces of crap like Dr. Oz. We have to learn our lesson. This is the worst midterm, the first round midterm. This gives Joe Biden, he's going to come out tomorrow and call this a giant win. And he's not going to be right, but he's also not going to be wrong. The expectations game is real, ladies and gentlemen. If you set the expectation that you're going to have a giant wave, and this is what the political operatives right now don't think this way anymore, and they need to start getting back to it. It's like a debate, right? Usually before a debate, the old adage would be go out and for 2 weeks before a debate, go out and just talk about how horrible the debater your candidate is. And if you can lower the expectation, they have to do very little. George Bush did this. George W. Bush did this very well. I mean, he had to go out there, and if he didn't fart on stage, he won. You know? That's what we're experiencing a little bit with this red wave issue. Even if we pull the House, and I think we're still going to pull the House by the skin of our teeth and keep it at a 50-50 Senate, that's going to be viewed as a loss, even if we win the House. The Democrats are going to be able to view that as a win. And that's really, really unfortunate. Under promise, over deliver. Absolutely. Absolutely, TK. So, to all of my friends, even though we've sparred back and forth at times, whether that's people in Tulsa, Parents' Voice, or you all worked your asses off, and kudos to you for all the work you did. You helped make this happen in Oklahoma, and you have my respect. To guys like Riley Flack and Ron and Tim Ryland and Mick Meow and Mick and all of the people out there that have been working hard, you have my respect, and thank you for your work. You helped make that happen. You were out there pounding pavement. The Lion's Den, Janice Danforth and Moms for Liberty, all of you guys. You worked hard, and you have my respect. And my main goal now is to see the transgender industry in Oklahoma die a quick death. Well, that's a big thing. Hold on. What do we got here? I'm just going to throw this up because why not? So but you can't see my face, and I got a pretty face, so I'll read this. So you figure Stitt as a mandate to strong arm Oklahoma landowners out of their homes and off the property and the farms on behalf of his very good buddies, Poe and Associate Engineers, and I'm reading this from somebody, which is the actual identity of the Criminal Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. Poe and Associate Engineers is already carrying a bad reputation. Today is run by a couple of former 30-year ODOT engineers who spent a lot of their career on the public payroll, feathering their own nests for future reference. I don't disagree with the turnpike assessment, but he does have a mandate. What he does with that mandate, I have no control over. I will say this, and I don't disagree with you at all. And I'm not a turnpike supporter especially in the form that it's moving. But here's the fact of the matter. The turnpike people sound like And I'm going to use a historical reference here. And I don't take this personally. I'm making an assessment from a history standpoint, okay? I'm making a parallel comparison. They sound like the people in the Old West who were against paved roads. Do you get my point? And that is not a popular statement. I'm making an assessment. That's what's going to be talked about. Progress progresses. And the road is being billed as something that will advance the progress of business in Oklahoma, which is probably correct. Now, as far as who gets paid for it and who makes money off of it, yeah, I get your point. But in all things, especially when it comes to politics and a government competing or unifying in any way, somebody's going to make money off of it. And the most connected people will usually be that person, and you will yell and scream at them. And you may be right. Most likely you are right, but you're still going to lose. And they don't care. So fight them. Stand up. Call your Congress people. But I will tell you this. I'd rather have 5 turnpikes and get rid of, of kids getting just, I don't want to say the word on YouTube because that'll take me down, but just abused surgically. End that. Then I'm going to start worrying about things like the turnpike. That's just me. But I completely understand what you're saying. And the corruption issue. If you go back, I'm making a historical commentary here. Harry Truman in Missouri. I'm from Missouri. Missouri was a good old boy state of the Democratic Party for years and years and years and years. And he was what was called a judge, meaning he was kind of a county boss. And he worked for a machine, an actual political machine in the Pendergrast machine in Missouri. And Truman would just say, somebody's got to get paid. And that's just kind of the way that works in a city or in a state like Oklahoma, which is very much Missouri-like. I don't like it. I've railed against it in many different facets. But I'm trying to be pragmatic or at least practical. And the biggest thing on my list is fixing our school system and saving our kids from being harmed by state-sanctioned underage transition surgeries. It's going to win with me every single time. That needs to be the first on the list. And if he has to trade a turnpike vote for that, trade 5 turnpike votes for that. I'd rather have more happy kids that grow up to be happy adults that can drive on the turnpike. I don't care as much about that. Now, what I would like to see is this when it comes to the turnpike. If you're going to take people's land from them, I think that since the state has a $3 billion surplus, I think they should be paid double what the land costs. Take some of that ARPA money that we got coming later on and pay the people double for their land, double the market price. It wouldn't even put a dent in our $3 billion surplus. to do that. What do you think about that? If you're going to take somebody's land, stuff, land they may have owned for generations, pay them double the market value for it. The state can afford it. Why not? I'd really like to, somebody who might be against the turnpike, would that make you more amenable to that? If instead of just, market price or a little bit above or maybe sometimes below, double the market price for any eminent domain land. If that's not allowable by law, change the law and make it that way. When you have a $3 billion surplus, $1.7 billion coming in from ARPA, do it. Pay them double the market value of their land and property and homes. If you harm their property value, pay them an estimation of the harm of the property value over the length of what's left in their lives of the homeowners. Compensate them. If there were 600 families, and the houses are worth $100,000, just for example, just you're throwing out a number, and you paid them $200,000, I'd say that's more fair, wouldn't you? It should be more fair. Double. All right, I want to check into these races again before I go. Let's look down at Arizona. 56 coming in. Kerry Lake and Hobbs are still more than 10 points apart. Kotek, that is a closer race. That is in Oregon. Interesting. That's interesting. Still close in Nevada, but they're going to be counting for days. This is for governors. So glad to see Abrams and Beto O'Rourke lose, aren't you? Can Beto O'Rourke go away? Can we never, ever see him on camera again? That guy is such a douche. Like, seriously. Can Beto O'Rourke never, ever be on a public display running for... He's ran for like 3 things in Texas and lost all 3 of them. At a certain point, you just got to go away, dude. Go away, Beto O'Rourke. And the same for Stacey Abrams. No more shows with her putting her as the president of the world. No more, I'm the next governor of Georgia. Yeah, Beto has a longer rap sheet than my arm. I know, right? Just go away. Go the F away. And Stacey Abrams needs to go away too. Warnock is doing much better in Georgia. That was a blanket rejection of Stacey Abrams, as it should be. Go away. Go away. I don't want to see you sitting in a classroom unmasked with a bunch of masked kids anymore. I don't want to see you at all, ever. Go away. Better go away. Hoffmeister, go away. Go away forever. You know what's going to happen with Hoffmeister right now, though? You ready for this? Hoffmeister is going to get a job in the federal government. Watch. She'll end up working for the Federal Department of Education. Watch. She will be rewarded. She will fail up. Because that's what Democrats do, is they fail up. With Arthur, what do you say? I'll throw this out. Why not? Thanks for stopping by, Arthur. Sorry I couldn't jump on yesterday at that stream. I don't know what was going on, but I'd love to come on that show and love to have him on my show. He was talking saying some really great things. But do bring a true change to our state. We have to teach folks in Oklahoma that primaries bring the change, not that. Yeah, it's absolutely 100% correct. And Arthur, I need to have you on my show too. Yeah, he was using his phone. Yeah, I figured that out afterwards. And by the time I figured it out, I could have jumped on, but then my wife was like, come eat dinner. And I do what she says. Yeah, come on, Arthur. Let's set up for the next few days. I like to get your thoughts on yeah, primaries are the key. Hey, Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Sherry, Representative Conley is the best. It like literally brought tears to my eyes to see you on here, Sherry. I don't know why. She's the best. And I'd like to have her on too, if she would dare broach the bounds of my dreaded podcast. I know I have a bit of a reputation, but I'll say this. Let me say something about that. I believe that I never wanted to be anything other in my whole life than a teacher. And I wanted to be the president when I was young. And then I had an aunt who looked at me and said, "You can't do that. Think of something more practical." So after that, the only thing I ever wanted to be was a teacher. Ever. I still would much rather be doing that. But when I saw and I was wanting to go back into and teach college, and when I saw what was happening at OU and I saw what they were teaching teachers to teach kids, I literally dropped everything and just started doing this because it's killing my profession and it's killing the teachers and the kids. Yes, Arthur, I have looked at them. I will get back to you on that. I get a lot of stuff every day, so you had to give me a little bit of time, and Sherry can attest to that a little bit. But my point of all that is to say I dropped all of this and I gave up opportunities to go back into the classroom because I knew that this had to be taken care of. And I hope now that Governor Stitt and Ryan are strong and in, and that it'll start to go that way. But we got to take care of the university, and I'm so passionate about what it is that I know to be true, and the things I've spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours reading and researching, that I get passionate about it, and I piss people off, but I didn't give up my whole career or any chance at having it again because I've been blackballed by the woke monster. I'm telling you that. I've had other issues, but I had a professor that looked at me and said, no matter what, other issues you've had, if you would just sign on to this agenda, this woke agenda, you wouldn't have any issues. They would just throw it out. You know what I mean? And so it's because our kids are going to be our kids are it's so cliche, but I've taught so many kids and they've ruined my profession. Teaching music has become a propaganda machine, and they're watering it down, and education is getting watered down, and I see kids failing and becoming more and more angry and bitter from a young age because of what this is being implanted into their everyday lives. So I don't know what I'm looking for Klimt, guys. Uh, but that's why I'm a bit of an asshole. That's all I'm saying. That's why I fight hard for the things that I know, or at least I think I know. But I don't fight for anything that I haven't put in a tremendous amount of effort into learning. That's all I'm going to say. So you may not like me. You may think that I'm pompous. You may think that I'm an asshole. You may think that I don't work well with others, which may be true at times. But we are so far behind. And somebody who, like me, who's literally spent 6, 8 hours a day for the last 3 years doing nothing but this. I mean, writing a dissertation and stuff too, but I'm talking about just the sheer amount of work and reading and dot connecting and research and conversations, hours and hours of conversations with leaders and giving advice and talking through problems and you know working through policies to show how they connect and how those connections will bring detriment to our kids. That has been my goal. And yes, Representative Conley, they feel neglected. Our kids are being neglected for a political agenda. And I would give up any chance. There's nothing I've ever loved more than my wife and my daughter and my son, but than standing in front of a choir and waving my arm and feeling and hearing the beautiful music that kids and people can create together with their voices. That has been what I devoted my whole life to. But I would give up every second of it I could ever have to stop this in our schools. I would give up every second I've ever have of doing that again to stop this in our schools. And so that's why I'm a bit of an asshole. Yes, we won tonight in the state of Oklahoma. The red wave rolled in this state. And thank the Lord for Ryan Walters and Governor Stitt. And for those who did not win in the Norman area, you should have. And I will work with you and help you, just like I have from day one, especially my friend Kendra, who deserved that. And I mean, all three. But, and she may, I guess she has nothing to lose now. She called me her friend. But we won tonight, but the real work begins now. And I'll commit to this. I'm learning how to work better with the politics issue and learning from people like Sherry Conley, who is a very wise person, and Jenny White and others, and Kendra and others who taught me a lot and continue to teach me a lot and sometimes kick me in the ass when I'm not, when I'm being too me. But again, I'll say to all the people in the state of Oklahoma that worked hard for the candidates that won tonight, thank you so much for your work. You have my respect. Even if we disagree on things, you have my respect. And we've got to find some common ground, but we cannot compromise on the things that need to be done for our kids. We can't. And I will tell you right now, I will give up every single friend I've ever had to stop the children in this state from being harmed by doctors who are being paid by the state to do it or not. It needs to be outlawed. And I'll work with anybody to get that done. Anybody. So, Congratulations, Governor Stitt. Congratulations, Ryan Walters. Congratulations to the other Republican candidates that won. And I'm here. I'm going to keep going. Check out Project 46. Check out the Red River TV. We're going to be doing some more stuff together. And like, subscribe, share the channel. Super chat, super thanks. All those things help me out. And don't stop the fight. Stay unwoke. We got more to do, people. We got more to do. And Dr. Oz is the worst candidate in the history of the Republican Party. Don't nominate any more people like him. Never, ever, ever again. Cool? Thanks, guys. Good night. We'll see you later. Stay unwoke.